right, it is 6 o'clock and I will call the 22nd regular common council meeting to order. Will the clerk please state the quote of the day?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Don't find fault, find a remedy.
All right, will the clerk please call the roll?
Alderperson Ackley?
Excused?
Alderperson Decker?
Here.
Alderperson Feldy?
Here.
Alderperson Flicky-Peneski?
Here.
Alderperson Laster? Here. Alderperson Mitchell? Here. Alderperson Perella? Here. Alderperson Salazar?
Here.
Alderperson Savaglio?
Present.
Alderperson Walton? Here. There are 9 present.
All right, for those in attendance, would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, first item is approval of the minutes. Alder Flicky-Peneski.
I move to approve.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion on the minutes from our previous meeting? Seeing none, all those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Minutes are approved. Next, the city attorney.
Thank you. There is one mayoral appointment. The mayor submits the following appointment for your consideration to the Senior Activities Center Commission, Karen Kober, for a term to expire April 15, 2024.
And that will lay over.
And then confirmation of an appointment by the mayor. The mayor submits the following appointment for your consideration to the Zoning Board of Appeals, Salasani Salasander, for a term to expire April 18, 2022.
I move to confirm.
Second.
Motion second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Excuse me, that's a roll call.
Aye.
Let's go to your muni codes.
Okay. Okay.
Fresh. Okay.
Nine ayes.
All right, that's approved. Thank you. Anyone for public forum?
No one this evening.
All right, we'll just jump right into a presentation by Director Chad Pelacek and Phil Cosson from Ehlers. Gentlemen, take it away.
Thank you, Mayor. So tonight we're going to tag team a presentation called Tax Incremental Financing 101. We're going to give a little bit of a background about TIF districts, some definitions, some information, and then dive into the current districts and the financials related to that. So the city has retained Ehlers Associates to help us look at the districts and make some recommendations moving forward on their financial stability and or closure of those districts. So we'll go through some of that in detail. So to start out with, what is a TIF? A TIF is a mechanism for funding development and infrastructure related to redevelopment and or development. It allows all taxing jurisdictions benefiting from the development to share in its costs. We interchangeably use the word TIF and TID. So a TIF is the actual financing option that allows a municipality, a town, village, or city to fund infrastructure and other improvements through property tax revenue on a newly developed property. And a TID is the actual boundary or the district of the area identified by the municipality for the certain type of development. So a little bit about the TID law background. The TIF law was adopted by legislation at the state in 1975 to eliminate blighted areas in urban neighborhoods. Before the TIF law was enacted, if a municipality wanted to expand its local tax base, the municipality alone would have to pay the cost, but the overlapping taxing jurisdictions would also benefit from the growth. The legislator saw this as a situation as unfair and viewed TIF as a way to help remedy the problem and encourage cooperation between local governments. And the city of Sheboygan's case, the other taxing jurisdictions is Sheboygan County, the school district, Sheboygan Area School District, and Lakeshore Technical College. So there's a number of TIDs, or TIDs. Blight elimination was an early one, and that was replaced sometime later by a rehabilitation district. This district is typically open for 27 years. An industrial TID is used to fund industrial and business parks, and it's open for 20 years. A mixed-use district is mixed-use development, so it could be residential and or commercial. That is open for 20 years, and then an environmental district is used to fund environmental cleanup. So how does TIF work? And we've had a lot of discussions about this, but upon creation, the value of the TID is frozen for property tax distribution purposes. So basically, whatever the value of that property within that district is at the time of certification by the Department of Revenue, that's basically held stagnant, and that's the value that in our case, the city would get and the taxing jurisdictions would get from a value going into the general fund. Any new value created in the district above that then goes into the district and used to pay down expenditures within the district. So that's kind of, and then when the district closes, all taxing entities start to realize the benefits of the new value. So the purpose of this is really economic development tool and to revitalize, in our case, old areas that are vacant or blighted or underutilized, bring some new value in, and then when the district closes, that goes back on the tax rolls and everybody sees the benefit. So there's a number of ways that TIF projects can be funded. It can be done through bonding of upfront funding, where the city would go out and borrow the money and give basically a grant, if you will, to the developer. Another one is a city-led pay-as-you-go, so that's the one that we typically use. So that's where the developer has to capital outlay the monies, and then based on the income from future tax generation, they get paid back over time, as well as the developer-led pay-as-you-go. I guess those could be kind of interchangeably. Basically, that they're paying for the improvements in their financing package, and then as they perform over time, we would pay them back. So there's a number of ways that you can amend districts. For reasons to amend a district would be to modify the project plan, to add or subtract property within the TID, to extend the maximum life, or to donate tax increments to other districts. TIF amendments, boundaries may be changed up to 4 times. There's no limit on the project plan amendments. One expenditure period amendment if it's not cash flowing. And then both the TID amendments and project plan changes need to be approved by the Joint Review Board. So what is the Joint Review Board? In our case, it's a representative from the Sheboygan Area School District, one from the Technical College, one from Sheboygan County, a representative from the city, and a public member. And then there's the opportunity for an affordable housing extension. So this was added to TIF in 2009, and it allows a city that has a district that has retired its debt or other obligations to extend the life of the district for 1 year. And if the city adopts a resolution extending the district for 1 year and discloses how it intends to improve its housing stock, you can take these funds and use them for other purposes. So the Department of Revenue grants approval on these extensions. 75% of the tax increments need to benefit affordable housing anywhere within the city, not just specific to that district. And affordable housing is defined by the law as housing costing no more than 30% of the household's gross monthly income. So this is a listing of the current TIDs within the city of Sheboygan. So TIF 6 is South Pier and the lakefront out to the marina. That's our oldest district. TID 10 is the Water Street area primarily down here along the river. The Kingsbury Apartments and some of those garden toy apartments were included in that. TID 12 is A Street office building, so that is the what used to be the Nemshaw for Herman Miller office building where Rhodey Dales is today, and the Grand Stay Hotel. So it's a small district kind of on that corner. The land, TID 13 is landmark condos, so this is the landmark building that had burnt in 2007 and was rebuilt. That includes that property as well as the Founders Club or the old Sheboygan Senior Community. TID 14 was originally created for Festival Foods development and has since expanded to include the Meyer Foods. TID 15 is the Pick and Save property and some residential property on the south side of Sheboygan. TID 16 is downtown A Street. Basically, it's A Street from the river up to the Weil Center and then expands out to include the Wells Fargo property to the east. TID 17 is Indiana Avenue. So it's basically from the lake out to 14th Street and then down South 7th Street to just shy of King Park. So the old Optenberg property is kind of the southern limit. TID 18 is the South Point Enterprise Campus, our new business center on the south side. TID 19 is the Riverbend neighborhood. This is primarily around the Dulmus Decor, where the Watershed Hotel is being developed, the old Gloss Coffee Shop, and then the LT Lakeshore Technical College campus across the road. So it's a small district kind of on the kind of bend in the river. And then the last one, TID 20, is the former Vandervaart where Oscar Apartments and Quick Trip are being built. So we're gonna dive into the districts a little bit more detail. So the TID 6, the South Pier, you can see the map on the screen. It is a fairly large district. It was created in 1992. The expenditure period, so anything after that date of 12/31/2017, we're unable to make any further expenditures in that district. And it's slated to close in 2023. It had been amended a number of times. It has gone through a number of years of changing of TIF law, so that's 33 years is the expansion time. That's not really never seen, but there was some challenges with issues related to the South Pier development and Blue Harbor that the legislature took some additional action to extend that district. The estimated close date is this year. It was originally created as a blight elimination district. It has currently is generating around 1.5 million in increments, so that's the new tax value on top of basically the revenue that the district is creating. And as I mentioned, this one would be eligible for an affordable housing tax credit in 2022 and close in 2022. So we'll talk about what that looks like and what those numbers look like near the end of the slides. But the next one I would turn it over to Phil to talk about the financials.
Great, thank you, Chad. Good evening, everyone. Phil Costin with Ellers. Nice to be with you. These are all going to look very similar. These are our materials, and we're numbers people, so bear with me. What you'll see here is that in the orange heading is where we're showing the anticipated revenues for a tax increment district. Here we have the tax increment, the revenue that's actually the increase in valuation and the taxes generated on that. There's exempt computer aid in many of these that are kind of held constant by the Department of Revenue. Here you have a ground lease fee that is revenue that's coming back into this district, some loan receivables, and to a total revenue number. So if you're taking that revenue number minus your obligations, what we're trying to drive down to is the district healthy enough at this point to actually close out? Partly why we got involved was to make sure that we're looking at each of the districts with the intent to see whether or not a district can be closed, if there could be a revenue sharing, should it be amended? We kind of went through all those criteria for each of the districts. Under the expenditures, there are some remaining debt payments, a transfer, and some small administrative costs. And as Chad indicated, in 2022, we would expect to generate enough revenue to be able to close out this district. With the ability to, again, if it's a policy decision to keep these districts open, but you would be able to collect $1,442,000 of revenue in 2023 for affordable housing. So we'll touch on each of these in a little bit and get more into the affordable housing discussion later on.
So the next district is TID 10, the Water Street. It's set up the same way. There's a map kind of showing the boundaries along the Sheboygan River. This was a blight elimination district created in 1997. Could close in 2024 or earlier. It generates about $392,400 in TIF increment revenue. It is eligible for the affordable housing extension as well and to close in 2022. So I will let Phil talk about this one.
All right, thank you, Chad. And again, if you look at this same setup as the last one, I'm not going to walk through each of the numbers here, but again, in the orange heading are all the revenues, and the expenditures are all in the green. You do have a development incentive with Van Horn Development Group here that will be fully paid off in 2023. There are some general fund advances that are going to be reimbursed back to the general fund as part of this district. And again, what we're projecting in the balance columns in 2022, you would have the ability again to close this district out with the possibility again of retaining 1 year's of revenue for affordable housing.
The next district is TID 12, the East Street Office Building and Grand Stay, and then some of the Wild Center, Black Pig, and some of the parking lots. So this district, like the other ones, is a rehabilitation district created in 2000. Could close in 2027. This is a donor district to TID 17, so this is sharing revenues from this district to TID 17, which was Indiana Avenue. However, that may not be needed in the future because TID 17 is doing better than anticipated. So this district generates around $191,776 in revenues, and like the other districts, is eligible for the affordable housing.
Yeah, again, much smaller district, much smaller revenue amounts here. One of the things we discovered quickly as we got into TID number 17 was that we really didn't need to share additional revenue with 17, which then freed up the ability for TID number 12 to close out in 2022 as well. As Chad indicated, TID 17 is healthy enough at this point. There's been enough development for it to support itself without revenue coming from another district. So this district will be looking to close out in 2022 as well.
The next one, TID 13, Landmark Condos. As I said before, it's primarily the Landmark Condos and the Founders Club, or the old Sheboygan Senior Community. A very small district, really generated to facilitate the development of the condo project. So it was created in 2005. Expenditure period runs through 2027, and it has an end date of 2032. It is a donor district like TID 12 with TID 17. Generates around $442,000 and would be eligible for the affordable housing tax credit.
I've been around so long, I created this district back in 2005, so I'm back. So this district, again, was created back, as Chad indicated. This is a blight district, meaning it could stay open for a lot longer period of time. But again, decision, at least at the staff level at this point, is to close this district out since revenue doesn't need to be shared with 17 as well. So this will be able to be closed out, and again, possibly up to about $400,000 available for affordable housing also.
TID 14, the Taylor Heights Festival Foods and Myers. So you can see the district that this covers, primarily the area around Taylor and Erie Avenue and some of the on and off ramps, and then the Sunny Ridge and some of that redevelopment area to the northeast, I guess you could say. So this was created in 2011, could close in 2031. It was created as a mixed-use district, which would give it a maximum life of 20 years. It generates about 1.5 million a year in revenues, and like the other ones, is eligible for the affordable housing extension.
Yes, I was involved in this district creation as well. Really, this really was the old Menards building that was then turned into Festival Foods.
No,
Walmart, sorry, Walmart building. It has been a while, thank you. Back a while. So again, similar to the other districts, we expect this district to be able to pay off all its obligations with the cumulative balance that remains, and again in 2022 be able to close out this district.
TID 15, the Pick and Save. So this was used for the redevelopment of what used to be the Kmart into the Pick and Save that unfortunately sits vacant. However, there is a lease that they're paying the same rate as if they were in the building. So the developer really has no interest in going out and finding a tenant, but the tax value has, to our benefit, stayed at the high level as if the building is occupied. So this was created in 2011 as well. Could have a closure of 2031 as a mixed-use district for 20 years. Revenue is about $230,000 and is eligible for the housing extension in 2024 and could close in 2024 because there's some obligations that still need to be met.
Again, very similar story here. There are obligations here that run through 2024. There's a cumulative balance that's been built up in that TID fund, and again, enough in 22 already to close out this district. This is one you could probably keep open for other purposes in that neighborhood, but without another prospect, it makes sense to close this out at this time.
TID 16, the downtown Sheboygan A Street, as I said, basically runs from the visitor center property all the way up to Wisconsin Avenue. And then that little leg that goes to the east is the Wells Fargo and some property that they own west of North 6th Street, I think that is. So anyway, that district was created in 2015. It was created to provide development incentives to develop the High Point Apartments and the Encore Apartments. It's a 20-year district. It runs through 2035. Its annual income is around $587,000. So there's a little bit more to tell here.
Yeah, so if you spend a little bit of time looking at this cash flow and you look at the last columns on the right where it says annual and cumulative, you'll see that for the time being, this district is in the red. Not unusual for newer districts to be in the red until development really picks up. There's projected shortfalls for the next couple of years until a lot of the debt and the incentives fall off. We fully expect that'll be fully reimbursed back. And in 2032, this district will be in the black, and we'll have the ability to close out at that time, which will still be 5 years earlier than the maximum life. So it's just taking a little time to work its way through, but from our projections at this point, it will be a healthy district in the future.
So this is a real example of what TIF is set up for, is to take on a lot of debt in the beginning and then pay it off over time as the increment comes in. There's been a number of capital projects that have been funded against this district, like the updates to the street lighting to LED conversion along A Street. So that's an ongoing expense that has been built into this as well. So TID 17 is the Indiana district. It was created in 2018, so it's relatively new. It's a 27-year district. It could run through 2042. It sees increment revenue of about $800,000 per year. And the indications are that it'll do fine. It'll be positive cash flow moving forward. It was really created to facilitate some of the redevelopment along Indiana Avenue, the former Pentair property, and then the Optenberg property to the south. So you can see that it's a relatively large district. It has seen some successful projects with the Badger State Lofts and the condo development that occurred along the Sheboygan River. And then should the development on the former Kepsel move forward, that will only help it out a lot more. So it right now is a recipient of TIDs 12 and 13, but going forward, it has plenty of cash flow that it doesn't necessarily need that.
Yeah, if you look at the revenue projections and you look at the projected revenue, you'll see that we do show in the fourth and fifth columns from the left, the revenues that have come in from 12 and 13. And then the third column from the right is that cumulative balance. So there is a healthy fund balance in this tax increment district, in part, I think, from revenues from TID 12, 13, a little bit of bond proceeds, some land sale as well. We expect this district, if you look at the cumulative column, to stay in the black through the life, and again, close out well early, 11 years earlier than the allowed life of the district at this point. Be a very successful district for the city.
So the next few districts are pretty new, and there's some opportunities. So you won't see a Ellers comparison on these because because of the age, frankly. So I'm just going to go through some of the details, and then there won't be any additional slides on the performance. But the TID 18 South Point Enterprise Campus created in 2018. The expenditure period through 2035. The end date was 2038, has now been approved by the Department of Revenue to 2040. And that's based on an update of the basically to try to get us through the pandemic, because we haven't had a lot of development out there as was originally anticipated. So we had worked with Ellers to extend this to 2040 to cover some cash flow issues going forward. And we believe that it's got about 15 to 18 million or so of outstanding debt, but we believe in the end it'll ultimately make it, it'll cash flow itself. Right now it's generating around 900,000 in revenue, is what we budgeted. And that's primarily from the FedEx project that's also in this district, and some improvements that Torganol's making in our current business center. TID 19 Riverbend Neighborhood. So this was also created in 2018. It'll close in 2038. It's a mixed-use district. You can see where this is. This is a fluid situation. We've got a number of developments happening. We may need to extend this to include the former Mayline and the adjacent redevelopment authority property, JP Marine along Commerce Street, to facilitate some redevelopment and some street construction upgrades in that area going forward. And then the last one is the TID 20, which is the former Vandervaart. This was a 27-year district created in 2020, closes in 2047 as a rehabilitation district, and basically has minimal debt against it other than some streetlights on Georgia Avenue and potentially some trail improvements. So this could be a future donor district with other rehabilitation districts if needed, or close early. This has to pay a fairly large TIF incentive, almost $7.5 million to the roughly $47 million Oscar apartment deal. You want to talk about this? Sure.
Well, here's the good news, folks. It's really a situation where you have a lot of activity in districts that have been around for quite some time. And you're at a point where you have the ability to close out 6 of the districts this year. And there's some financial impacts to that. There's really 3 impacts. One is that the city, like most other communities in the state of Wisconsin, are trying to figure out workforce and affordable housing. This will be one avenue to deal with that. So what we projected, if you close out in 22 these 6 districts, that if you look at where it says anticipated amount for affordable housing, the projection is about $3.9 million that would go into a fund that Chad talked about earlier. That there's some you have to kind of work through the process of how the funds can be used, but it's really earmarked for affordable housing. So it'll be a really good start to a fund in the city of Sheboygan that will allow the city to be more active in working towards workforce and affordable housing issues. Second, when we look at tax impact of anticipated borrowings and your operating levy, one of the benefits of closing out districts is you get a big bump in valuation, where you're spreading the overall operations and debt over a larger tax base. Closing out these districts, about $190 million of value will come back online. That will help absorb, again, future increases in both operating and debt service, and kind of hopefully level out the tax levy as well. And then finally, the third is that I mentioned earlier in TID number 10, there's a general fund reimbursement of about $419,000. It'll go back to the general fund. So you'll get a bump in valuation, which helps when it comes budget time. That'll really take effect in budget year 2024. You'll have about $3.9 million that'll go into an affordable housing fund, and a little bit of money coming back to the general fund as well.
So wrapping this up, so the last couple slides here are just some information that we hear all the time. How many TIDs can a city have? Obviously, if we close 6 districts, we'll be creating additional opportunity should the need arise. But the state statute requires that the equalized value of taxable property in all districts does not exceed 12%. With the most recent creation of TID 20, the city's total equalized value of existing TIDs was around $190 million, and we could go up to a maximum of $350 million. So prior to that, if we didn't close any districts, would have still plenty of value to do that. But with closing districts, obviously that total number will go down. Couple advantages of TIDs: it can increase property values, spur private development, create a stronger, broader tax base, stimulates the investment outside the district typically, and benefits the underlying taxing districts at the end of the TIF, as we just discussed. Some disadvantages: if the district doesn't materialize as planned, the city may have to find other sources to fund it, and that's kind of where some of those advances from the general fund have happened over the years. TIDs may be used in areas where development would have not normally occurred, and it can increase the administrative burden of managing these local districts. So that's it in a nutshell. If there's any questions, we would be happy to answer them.
All right, thanks Chad and Phil for that very informative and engaging conversation. Any questions from alders? Alder Flicky-Pineski.
Thank you. For an example, TID 13, right now, if we close it, we get about $200,000 of revenue. If we keep it open, if I read the charts correctly, if we keep it open, we get $1 million in a couple more years. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I think it's 300,000 is the increment that's generated. So either that would keep going into building up fund balance, or in this case could be shared with the donor district, which was TID 17. I don't know where the 1.5 million would have came from.
Okay, I guess more generally, my question is, when I looked at the charts, closing them out now gives us a certain dollar amount. If we wait another year, we get a higher increment. Is that accurate?
You want to answer that?
Yeah.
Go ahead. I was
Mr.
just gonna try to
Clausen?
pull this up. Sure.
It was TID 13 that I was looking at.
Yeah, so there's a couple of things there. One, once you have, the state statute is very clear that once you have,
I don't know why this is different, but it's not advancing the slides. Sorry.
okay.
We tried to find it for you.
That's okay.
Well, I'll just answer it generally. So
Sure.
the statutes are very clear that once you have met all the obligations, that you're required statutorily to close out the district. You can't just keep it open to build a fund balance
Okay.
in a tax increment district. So to keep it open, in the case of TID 13, you would have to undertake additional capital expenditures to keep it open. If there aren't expenditures to be made in TID 13, then statutorily you're required to close out the district. I think the decision by staff has been, at this point, there are no future capital expenditures in that area. Therefore, we don't need to share the revenue with TID number 17 anymore. Let's close out the district.
Okay. That answered my question. Thank you.
Any other follow-ups, Alder Flicky-Pineski?
Nope.
Any additional questions from Alders? All right, thank you, Chad. Thank you, Phil. Thank you, Ehlers, for all your work and keeping the TIFs rolling and in pretty good health. Thank you. All right, next is Todd Wolf's, our city administrator, his operations update.
All right, good evening. I also want to just thank Phil and the Ehlers team, just to bring everybody up to speed that the work that they're doing on the TIDs is also part of that 5-year strategic fiscal management program that we're working on. So again, this is how we look at things, how do we close things, how do we plan for the future. So this is great work, so thank you again. So good evening, City Council, Mayor, City Clerk, City Attorney. This review is all to do with the many departments that we have and the hard work and dedication. Next. So when we look at this slide, we talk about our prior state and we talk about the 4 areas that are our main categories. So when we look at the 4 roads, we talk about our 200+ miles. We talk about our infrastructure being our 3rd category. And we talk about the age and the value of these assets and how important they are. Many of them are 50 to 60 years old, like our city hall here, which is presently, I believe, 103 years old. We talk about our number 2, our fleet, and we've addressed that, at least started to, with our enterprise program, which I believe the mayor is very happy with, his vehicle. Our number 1 and most valuable is our employees. And that's something that we're starting to address as we move forward. Next. So when we talk about prior state and how we've led to the following issues, so over time in my position, we talk about communication, we talk about permissions, we talk about approvals, we talk about documentation, our inefficient processes of the past, and our cultural issues and how we're going to improve those. Next. So part of that is we focus on our core values. We talk about our service, our teamwork, our accountability, our innovation, our respect, our stewardship and fiscal responsibility. These are our stairs and our core values in assisting us. We lead every day with these steps to improve our daily service. Next. So as we look at our core values and we focus on these, they drive the city's mission and steer toward the city's vision. How do we get there? These provide us support and strategic plan to focus on areas and goals that the city and the council have determined that are very important to us. Next. We focus to improve and innovate the services provided to our residents, daily review of how can we do better. Next. We ensure tighter fiscal and process controls, many projects to assist in this are happening throughout our days. Next. We focus on creating the gold standard of operations, as you've heard me talk about, as I've been in this position. We are on this, and this is a journey that we'll continue to work on. Next. We make the city of Sheboygan the employer of choice for our employees and our team members. Not just wages and insurance, but the full process and environment that we work in daily. Next. So when we talk about our strategic plan, which is underway presently, we talk about our mission and where we want to be. Next. Our strategic plan continues to focus on our city's vision, where the city of Sheboygan will be a family-oriented and prosperous community with a wide variety of housing, business, cultural, and recreational opportunities in a safe and attractive neighborhoods, which we continue to do with the assistance of our departments and our city council. Our strategic plan, which we've extended through 2022, which is underway, the creation of our 2023 strategic plan currently in process. We're looking at our core values, our mission and vision to make sure that we're on target. Next. So as we do that in a 2021 quarterly quarter 3 and 4 update for the council, we continue to streamline our processes, manage cleanup efforts, strengthen financial controls, establish policies and procedures that we've noted that are either missing or inadequate per our 2020 and 2021 CLA studies. We continue to find discrepancies and address infractions as the council has been identified. So impressed with our finance team and the work they've done. It's just amazing what we've been able to address as we continue to get started. Next. So long-term investment fund review and updated completed in our July 2021. Next. Our continued creation of the city's first 5-year fiscal strategic plan with Ehlers, as Phil kind of started to review the TIDs with us. This helps us to be responsible and strategic moving forward. Again, first time ever done. Next. Our GROTA appraisals and reevaluation phases, phase 1 is completed last year. Of the 5 phases, we're in phase 2 this year in 2022. This is not an area that we should be hiding from and allowing to fall behind. So as you heard me state last year, this was actually out of compliance since 2018. Next. Actively managing accounts receivables, notably delinquent personal property tax penalty payments in 2021. $4,000. 2021 actual was $37,700. Just amazing when we see that. Exceeding budgeted revenues by 942%. Again, these are great things happening within the city. What more can we say on this other than great job? Next. Neighborly, we have to talk about Neighborly. This was Jessica's project, and she did a fantastic job. But Neighborly Loans Program and applications, prior state of in-person only applications, 5 to 7 annually. Again, this is to help our constituents as a last line of support. Since July 2021, online applications 40 to 50 annually, 714% increase. It is so unbelievable that we are able to help our constituents day in and day out with their needs, 714%. This was a huge undertaking on top of the daily responsibilities, decades of problems cleaned up. As you can see, our service is now up 714%. Great job. Next one, employee life insurance reconciliation and retiree health insurance audit completed. First comprehensive reviews ever in the city's history. 12 ineligible participants removed from the plan. Just years of negligence that we finally got cleaned up. Next. This one's an easy one, if you get my line. AT&T phone lines consolidation audit completed, 36 unused lines canceled, creating $9,000 in annual savings. Something so simple, but overlooked. Again, asking why do we need what we have, right? Next. So continued improvements in 2021 in our quarters 3 and 4. So we talk about our Munis chart of accounts conversion. Next. Parking stall and rentals and billing moved to Munis, again, off of AS 400, one of those old programs that we're trying to work off of. The inaugural Citizens Fire Academy, I have to put a plug in there for our fire department. First one, and they did a great job. They actually, quite a few of our City Hall staff, myself included, Alder Lester was in there also. We realized how hard it is to be a fireman, or you know, on call. It's just amazing. Next. My Civic electronic community information and engagement platform nearing completion. This is to assist our citizen communications and technology, our program to take us into the future. Next. Our IBMI AS400 migration, 40% of the data reduction. Again, we've continued to really make some huge strides in this. 40% is a huge, huge opportunity because this homemade program has been used for so many decades that it just takes time to get this information off. So as Eric knows, my goal for his department in 2022 is another 40%. Yeah, I know he's cringing back there. So next. So as we look at our policy creation updates, long-term investments, our fund balance, our TIF, as you heard about it, our code of ethics, continued growth and development on this is continuing. Next. Enterprise fleet management, $1 million savings in geo debt for 5-year program. Again, this is a huge opportunity for us in taking care of our smaller fleet parcels. So this is a great program. It's a slow rollout, mainly due to supply chain, but we have been getting vehicles out to our departments, DPW, and just getting the old equipment off and the new equipment on, so it looks really great. Next. EAM software implementation was finally approved recently, as we know. So we just had our kickoff, and it's going to take 2 years, but you're going to hear us talking about it on a regular basis. And it's going to be great. It's very exciting. It's going to allow the council and our teams to really be strategic and understand the lifespan and need for prioritizing throughout the city, not just roads and sidewalks, but facilities and so forth. So it's great. Next. So we talk about 2017 to 2021 strategic plan extended through 2022, creation of the 2023 to 2027 strategic plan. Obviously that's in process and moving forward, and it's showing some great information. Group sessions were completed. Surveys are still going great. We're about 2.5 times what we had back in 2017 as far as constituent input. That's huge, 2.5 times the amount of feedback. Now it's a start. Hopefully it'll continue to keep rolling. Next. Ambulance rates, first update in 13 years. Again, these are things that we just don't tend to look at or haven't looked at. And again, they're all mandated, so it's bumping things up to where they should be. So the new rates and new collections group is working with us. So that'll help us with our the revenues in that area. Next. Munis code enforcement and permitting initiation. Better processes and better controls so that we can help our constituents to make sure that we have the community and neighborhoods that we want. Next. Investments in employees, 2021, quarters 3 and 4. We'll talk about that a little bit. So Carlson-Detman review, as I'm sure all of the council members and department heads are very concerned. Where are we with that, Todd? So we're finishing this up, very detailed and in-depth, and we're continuing to have to really do the deeper dive because we're not looking at just other municipalities, but we're also looking at our neighbors on different jobs that are actually comparable to what we do within our city. But a lot of our jobs are actually very refined and very detailed, and it's not like you can just go and take somebody from Sargento or take somebody from Kohler. It's actually you have to take somebody from another municipality, so it's very difficult. We also have to realize that the city is a city, so that means that you can't just go to a village or to a township and say that they have the same positions. You literally have to look at somebody that's gonna have to relocate to fill some of these positions. We also realize that a lot of our positions are actually exactly on scale of where they should be. So that's a great opportunity for us to help us understand where we are. Next. Biometric health screening reinstated. It was paused back in 2019. We care to help our team help themselves. Biometrics helps us understand possible opportunities for each of us to understand when we take this. Next. Initiated mandatory employment practices, liability training sessions for all staff. Again, training helps us help ourselves and others as we continue to be the employer of choice. Next. Increased training and professional development in 2022 budget, we increased it by $40,000. Again, we were kind of stepped back a little bit back in 2020 because of COVID, but we really need to make sure that we give our employees and our team members the time and the ability to get the training that they need to help take us to that next level. So training helps us help each other raise the bar as we move forward. Next. Wellness Committee revamped, rebranded, renamed, however we want to look at that. We're now the Wellbeing Committee, and we also continue to use our Go 365 for those that are on our insurance program. Again, it's helping our employees to understand how they're doing and help themselves to be healthier. So reviewing how we can excite and involve as many team members to help us in being with our well-being. Next. All right, HSA contribution for 2022, that was included in this year's budget. And again, it's not guaranteed, but you know, if it works, if we can work and stay healthy, that keeps the rates down, this is something that we should be providing our employees as an incentive. Next. So investment in employees, 2021. Again, initiated the internal journeys to supporting diversity, equity, and inclusion and belonging within our workplace culture, providing clarity and understanding related to appreciating our varied experiences, backgrounds, and cultures. Had our first all-staff training session, creating and sustaining authentic relationships in the workplace. Again, we're starting our journey of educating and learning to become an employer of choice and belonging. Next. Looking forward into 2022, every time we tear a leaf off the calendar, you present a new place for new ideas and progress by Charles Ketting. Next. Perfect. All right. So our strategic plan, we're in the define. We completed the define portion of it. We did that in the beginning of 2022. Baker Tilly is a collaborative member, and it's the city's first time professionally done. Next. We're in process of the Discover piece, and that's engaging our internal and external stakeholders. We had 9 external focus groups, many of which were quite communicative, where they gave us a lot of information, some a little bit more difficult than others. Then we'll be creating our SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Next. From there, we'll develop and review our mission and vision and core values, making sure that they're representative of what information we pull together from our constituents and from our department heads. So we'll review that, identify and prioritize strategic goals, create a strategy map, prepare deployment to move out. Next. The deploy, that's basically where we develop and change management program, assign accountabilities, completion milestones, and we'll work with our department heads to make sure that we can develop key performance indicators and targets. We'll make sure that we can measure it, monitor it, and report it, and make sure that we make adjustments accordingly, or as I call it, course corrections as we go. Next. Looking forward to 2022, I'm sure you're all excited about what's coming. So the new year, new strategies. Continuous improvement is better than delayed perfection by Mark Twain. So as we look at our investments in employees in 2022, we're continuing our internal journey, supporting diversity, equity, and inclusion and belonging. Again, we're building our plan and program, and we'll talk about that when we have our HR presentation in the future. Learning skills to support critical conversations and civility, creating synergies and sharing resources with community partners. Again, we're working with our community to help us become better together. Moving forward, Munis Human Capital Management Module expansion, the majority of it has been unused, untouched, untapped for 15 years. It's just unbelievable when you think about the modules that we haven't used. Next. We talk about Munis Project Ledger and Capital Assets Module implementation, owned for 15 years and not used. Again, Caitlin basically is working on this with many other projects in her team. This is going to allow us to have compliance with state and federal reporting. Again, instead of having to pull things from different areas, we're actually going to be able to upload it in one report, complete and accurate. Next. Munis General Ledger Fund, consolidation, redesign. Again, this was Caitlin's huge project that she has with her team going on as we speak. So this is going to be, it's going to go from 1,081 cost centers down to 60. Just think about that. If you had to go through 181, now we're only going to have 60 categories. Then you look at 6,143 accounts reduced to 557. Again, it's just unbelievable how complicated we were and how disjointed we are and how clean it's going to be and how easy. It's a huge redesign. It's still in process. The team members are reviewing to make sure that all of the consolidation is working. It's being worked on in our training environment, and it's going to be rolled out very soon. Next. Munis upgrade to version 2021, technically 0.3 now. I heard about that this morning. Second upgrade in 1 year, keeping ERP system and technology up to date. This is tremendous information because it affects everybody, and just the understanding that we're now updating things on a regular basis is just huge. And when you think about it, how often does it happen at home or on your phone? Now we're actually doing it here at the city, and it's going to continue to happen and get better. So again, starting to plan our regularly scheduled updates for our teams. Next. Munis payroll module and process enhancement, proper use of workflows and approvals. Again, this is also more connected to the HR side of it and to our employees. Again, this is how we need to start using our modules that we have out there. Next. Exploration of Tyler Munis payments, cashiering, electronic payments. Again, this is another module area that is just, it's huge. It affects so many departments, and it's a positive and productive process that we're going to be focusing on this year. Next. Munis business license module. We're in the process of doing a gap analysis. And again, these are areas that we need to continue to focus on to improve our opportunities. Next one is ExecuTime, Integrated Electronic Time Management Systems, Exploration. This one actually excites me tremendously just because it's going to touch all of our hourly employees and help them to be able to do what they do more efficiently and effectively. There's just so many disconnects at that level. Next. So as we look at this in 2022 moving forward, there's a few items that we'll touch on real quickly, and that citywide reevaluation continues, a little behind our aggressive 2021 goal, but we're getting started, and in 2022, I've been informed that we're gonna be able to catch up and get back on schedule. Next. Our financial control enhancements. Again, these are areas, we have hired Baker Tilly, which is a great company. They're not only, one part of them is doing our strategic planning, but a second portion of them, a separate piece, is actually going to be doing our actual auditing processes in our finance department. So continuous growth and improvement. We will potentially find issues. I'm anticipating it. I know Caitlin and I are dreading it, but we know that with finding problems, it provides us to open the door to finding solutions and getting better, right? Next. DTS ViewWorks EAM systems, again, exciting program. It's a long project. It's going to take, years 1 and 2 for implementation. We're excited to have this for strategic planning. Many of our facilities are 50 plus and have problems, and you'll hear us talk about that when we reference the TID closures and opportunities. Again, it's really to understand how can we understand and finance strategic problems that we need to address that have been not taken care of for decades. Next. Enterprise fleet management, vehicles arriving, as I touched on before. This is a great project for our smaller vehicle fleets. At some point, we'll be looking at other areas for improvement within our fleets on the larger vehicles. Next. Our significant infrastructure investments that we've had thus far. We've had fire rescue pumper truck, a new ambulance to expand service, South Lakeshore Interceptor sewer project that's coming through, our municipal wastewater treatment plant upgrades. Again, these are all great things that are happening in 2022. Next. This one is very exciting for myself and for many of our constituents and department heads. This is the delivery of the 10 new fixed route transit buses. We're actually sending our lead mechanic from transit actually to the facility where they're building them. And he's going to actually be there to make sure to watch, monitor, and make sure that the construction and assembly of the new buses will be done to the standard that we need. This is going to be the first time where the city of Sheboygan's had 100% the highest level of new vehicles going out for our constituents. It's going to help us really to plan into the future. The next time we look at buying buses in the future, we'll be looking at the size of them and what kind of fuel. Do we want diesel? Do we want, regular? What about battery or natural gas? Things like this, or I should say natural compressed gas. But the point is, the next level of improvement for the buses is really going to be more of how are the efficiencies of those buses into the future. Next. Housing advancement strategies. Again, this is a huge, huge area for the council and for the mayor and myself. Creative advancements in housing study, the senior housing options and opportunities that we're looking to bring to the city. Single-family housing development, as we all know, we're working diligently on that. And multifamily veterans housing, which is coming through, as we know. Again, the success of great businesses is relying on this. We need more housing so that we can have more great constituents move and enjoy the gem of Sheboygan. Next. Business advancement strategies. Again, continued attention and adjustments as we work with our plan, our ARPA plan, but also with the grants that come in, making sure that we're flexible enough to expand on all of that opportunity. Next. 2022 lean principles. As you all know, I'm very, very huge on the fact of continuous improvement. And we had quite a few more team members. We had 9 more team members join us in this great opportunity. And if we do the same things and we expect different outcomes, this is the definition of insanity, right? So what we really want to do is look at everything we do daily. How are we doing it? Why are we doing it? There's so many things that we've done in the past because we've always done it. Does it add value? Does it have an ROI on it? So we're doing a great job on that, and I look forward to seeing us continue that. Next. This is actually taken from from our Fire Station 3, our headquarters, and it's the Big Four. And I want to give kudos to that department because this is actually hanging on the wall. This is kind of their mantra, or one of them. And that's do your job, treat people right, all in attitude, all out effort. Words of inspiring and motivation provided by Sheboygan Fire Department Station 3. This is hanging on the wall. This is what they think every day when they're walking around doing their job. That's what we do as a city. Next. So this one here is kind of, the iceberg is a little bit like Sheboygan, right? You see what's on top, but you don't realize what's on the bottom, and that's continuous improvement and development. So improvement initiative continued. I described the design process as like the tip of an iceberg. What you don't see is in the long haul, and that's by Norman Foster. Again, many thanks and praises to the departments and team members. They are our future success as we continue to move forward with the council's assistance. So thank you.
Thank you, Administrator Wolf. Any questions from alders? Alder Flicky-Paneski?
I actually have a request, if you would, forward your PowerPoint to all of the alders, and likewise for Mr. Pellicek, if you would forward yours too, please. Thank you.
Thank you.
Additional questions? All right, sounds good. Well, thank you, Administrator Wolf, for that presentation. I hope the council really sees all the hard work that is getting done, especially Administrator Wolf leading and fixing and modernizing the city's internal operations. There's a lot of work going on internally and externally in this community, so let's keep it up. Let's keep moving our city forward, and thank you for the council for all your support on that. Moving right along, item number 10, Alderperson Flicky-Paneski for the consent agenda. This is items 11 through 23.
I move to receive and file all reports of officers, receive all reports of committees, and adopt all resolutions and ordinances.
Second. There's been a motion and second. Any discussion on anything on the consent agenda? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote. Please refer to your Muni code. All right, the consent agenda is approved. Next, we'll jump down to item number 24, reports of officers. RO number 126-2122 by the Director of Planning and Development, submitting a communication providing additional information relating to the purchase of Juckham's Hall at 2601 North 15th Street by the City of Sheboygan. Alder Flicky-Paneski.
I move to receive and file the document.
Second. There's been a motion and second. Any discussion on this item? Seeing none, this is a voice vote. All those in favor of receiving and file the document, please state aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Aye.
That item is approved. All right, next is item 25, RO number 129-2122 by the City Plan Commission, to whom was referred General Ordinance number 38-2122 by Alderperson Savalio, annexing territory from the town of Sheboygan to the city of Sheboygan. Wishes to report that this matter was discussed at a regular City Plan Commission meeting on February 15th. Alderperson Savalio?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I make a motion to receive the RO and adopt the ordinance.
Motion and second. Any discussion on this item? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote. Please refer to your Muni code.
Nine ayes.
All right, that item is approved. Items 26 and 27 will be referred to the variety of committees. Number 28, resolutions. Resolution number 43-2122 by Alderpersons Feldy and Flicky-Podeski, authorizing the appropriate city officials to enter into a listing contract with NEI to provide real estate services to the city of Sheboygan industrial property within the South Point Enterprise Campus in the Sheboygan Business Center. Alderperson Flicky-Podeski.
I move to suspend the rules.
Any objection to suspension? Seeing none, please proceed with your motion.
I move to adopt the resolution.
Is there a second? Second. Motion and second. Open for discussion. Any discussion on this item? Director Pellicek.
Thank you, Mayor. So this is a document. The reason that it's a suspension of the rules is there's an opportunity for some industrial development that is occurring in a different community that we might have a chance of getting here through NAI FEF release. So the idea here is to get under an agreement with them that if they are indeed able to encourage the development to occur in one of the two City of Sheboygan business parks, we would be willing to pay some commission towards them to do so. This is a 3-year open-ended agreement. This isn't exclusive, so other brokers can still come in and market the property, but they have a client that they're working with that might be able to, that has some interest in developing a fairly large industrial building, and we would like to have a chance at it in our parks.
Thank you. Additional questions? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote. Please refer to your board doc or your Muni code.
Nine ayes.
All right, that's approved. Item 29, resolution number 141-2122 by Alderpersons Feldy and Flicky-Podeski, ratifying retaining outside legal counsel on behalf of the municipal court judge related to matter before the Wisconsin Judicial Commission. Alder Flicky-Podeski.
I move to suspend the rules.
Any objection to suspension? Seeing none.
I move to adopt the resolution.
Motion and second. Any discussion? Push the buttons. Alder Decker.
I guess I'm kind of questioning what is the whole, what this is about. Why
City
we're
attorney.
spending money on this and why we're, what's going on here?
Yeah, so it's a matter before the Wisconsin Judicial Commission. It is a confidential matter at this point, so I can't really get into much of it. But it is related to matters that take place in the course of the judge's duties. And as such, we are required to provide outside legal counsel. In this particular case, normally we hire outside counsel for these things for employees in the course of their duties locally, in part because we can get good rates. But we were able to negotiate the equivalent rate to what we get from our local firms with the firm out of Madison that specializes in matters before the Judicial Commission. So we're not spending any more money than we would otherwise.
Follow up?
I guess, well, I am kind of concerned about the municipal court having issues again, as we have had in the past.
Thank you. Alder Perella?
Yeah, actually, I had the same question, so it was partially answered. I'm not sure how we make a decision without knowing the details of the case. I mean, personally, I also have concerns about that. And also, do we have a choice? I mean, we do not know the details of the case. We have to decide anyway if going with the third-party external counsel. What's the choice that we have tonight?
You really don't have much choice. We are required to basically protect our employees when they do work in the course of their duties. We did specifically include in this contract that if it turns out there are things outside the course of the duties, that's not our responsibility, but I don't anticipate that's going to be an issue here. The only other option you would have is if you turned it down, then the judge basically would be able to go wherever she wanted to get the work done and then just basically turn the bill over to us, and then we would have to pay it. We figured it'd be better to negotiate that in advance, and that's what we've done.
Follow-up, Alder Perlin?
At which point this counsel will know the details of the case?
I don't know that you ever will. It really depends on how it turns out. So it is not all that, I don't know. When the Judicial Commission sort of handles, if somebody makes a complaint and then determines whether there was even anything to complain about, and if they make the determination that there's nothing to complain about, then, then it will go away, and you probably won't hear anything more about it. If it's determined that there was some other problem, well then, I imagine that depending on the nature of the problem, it may come back to us at some later date.
Additional follow-up?
Just one very quick one. So did I understand correctly that so the city has an obligation to provide legal counsel? So regardless if it is internal or external, we have an obligation, even if we wanted to challenge it, but we have an obligation as a city to provide legal counsel to our employees, to the city's employees.
Yes,
Okay.
we have that obligation for actions that are taken in the course of their duties. And we do this fairly regularly. I mean, as an example, if the police ticket a plow driver, we provide them a lawyer too, and we've done that many times in the past.
Yes, it's just the degree of it in this case, and also the fact that we don't know the details that threw me off a little bit. Thank you.
Additional comments, questions? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote.
Nine ayes.
That is approved. Items 30 and 31 will be referred to the Finance and Personnel Commission. Next is reports of committees. Item 32, RC number 206, 21, 22 by the Licensing, Hearing, and Public Safety Committee, to whom was referred RO number 117, 21, 22 by the Chief of Police, Christopher Domagowski, pursuant to Section 5465 of the Municipal Code, submitting the quarterly report and the benchmark measurements for the Sheboygan Police Department for the period commencing October 1st, 2021 and ending December 31st, 2021. Alder Decker?
I make a motion to file a report
As amended.
as amended. I'm sorry, file the report as amended.
Thank you. There's been a motion and second. Any discussion on this item? Alder Flicky-Pineski?
Thank you. Officer Domagowski, Chief.
Yeah, I'm here.
I have in front of me a September 30th report and a report that was dated January 17th. That was year-end December 31, 21. And when I went down the goals column, this came to council, last council meeting. When I went down the goals column, the 2021 goals, there were 4 of them that had been changed. The numbers were different between the September 30th goals of 21 and the December 30th goals. So when we look at goals for 2021, are they indeed full year goals?
Sure. You can look at the 2020 annual report where the goals are set for 2021, and that's where you'll find those goals. When the analyst created this report, the 2021 goals for theft, arson, and Facebook likes didn't carry over. I misunderstood what you were talking about when you approached me about it. So the report has been amended to correct that. And the amended report is in front of you.
Okay, so there were typographical errors. There were typographical errors.
There was 3 errors, yep, that didn't carry over in.
Okay, I counted 4, so go back and check the numbers again. But yeah, I'm happy if you caught them.
Thank you, Alder Flicky-Peteski. Alder Perrella.
One question about the parking tickets issued. Why do we have a goal of 10,000 parking issued tickets?
Sure. I don't want to call them arbitrary numbers, but they're numbers that are generated based on past performance over the years to where we think that they're going to be. So in the past, we've written as many as 10,000 parking tickets. Those are down over the last couple years, partly because of COVID, where the parking ordinances for winter parking were changed and suspended, and then partly just because of available personnel to issue those tickets.
Just scares me a little bit. I mean, I have to be more careful when I go around because you are 3,000, 4,000 tickets short this year, so.
So I think a lot of the citizens would be very happy with that. But really it comes down to what's going on throughout the city and how many people are available. So if you want more parking tickets written, we can do that, but you need to provide us with more resources to do that.
Thank you, Chief Damagoski. I have one more short question.
Yeah, please proceed.
How do you address the low percentages of offenses cleared? So it seems that you have a goal of 73% of offenses cleared, but we cleared 47%. And I'm just asking, how do you work on that then? Once you have these results, how do you address that specific part?
Sure, I would say that I'm very aggressive and set high goals because we have high expectations. I think that if you look at the national average, we're above the national average in clearance rates. And so the national average for thefts is about 10%.
Thank you.
Alder Flicky-Peteski.
And actually, you just started to touch on it, Chief. When you set a goal, do you look at the actual, 3 years back, 5 years back, 6 years back, and then determine a goal moving forward based on the 3-year or the 5-year average for us?
I do, and the trend, and I try to do something, not a goal that we can't reach, some goal that we can accomplish. And I think if you don't understand that, you wouldn't understand the progress that we've made and the way that progress is made. And so most of the time that progress isn't gonna, if you're successful, things aren't gonna go straight down in a line.
No.
It's gonna happen over time. And so we're gonna make some progress in an area, and we only have so much control over over crime. There's all kinds of other factors that go into it. And so I can make a pie in the sky goal of where I'd really like to be, but I don't have the ability to control some of those things. And a lot of things, if you look over the history of our reduction in crime, in robberies or in thefts or in burglaries or any of those where we've been really successful, it's going to dip down and then it's going to bump up a little bit here and there. And so it's over time that it keeps creeping down. It's in my annual report, some of it, but if you look at some of these numbers, it's really remarkable the progress that we made. Again, I don't have those numbers with me, so I'm not going to nail perfect numbers, but I can tell you that in 2009 and 2010, we had about 27 or 30 robberies. And if you look at how many we had this past year, 5, it really says something. If you look at our property crime numbers, in like 2007, we had about 427 burglaries. And then 2009 and 2010 were about in the 300s. So last year we had 82 burglaries. So from 427 to 82. And that didn't happen overnight, and it didn't happen just a straight line drop. It's a little bit at a time, and being aware that sometimes some of the things that do make a difference in those areas don't happen perfectly. And so we have to work at them more. So thefts about 1,700 thefts in 2010, and over 2,000 prior to that. I think like 2,400 in 2007. Last year, 563.
So you go back 10 years to look at your high average?
I've been keeping track of high average since I got here. So,
Perfect.
So in 2010, I looked at 10 years prior to that,
Okay.
and I remember all of that. And I can't tell you how impressed I am, not only with the work that our officers have done, but how a lot of the community has stepped up, because the community is the ones that have to do many of the things that really lead to success. And so something as simple as knocking down thefts means getting people to lock up their property and put it away, take things out of their car, lock their cars, put up lighting around their house, those simple things. And if they're not willing to do those things, we're not going to reduce these numbers, because the opportunity is still going to be there. And unfortunately, that opportunity is too tempting for some people.
Yeah, thank you. And I have also seen your neighborhood policing at work, and I see your neighborhood police at the neighborhood associations, and they do a very fine job of relating to their constituents. So thank you for that.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Thank you, Alder Flicky-Pineski. Additional comments, questions from alders? All right, seeing none, this one is a voice vote. All those in favor of accepting the report as amended, please state aye. Anyone
Aye.
opposed?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That
Aye.
is approved. Next is item 33, RC number 217-21-22 by the Finance and Personnel Committee, to whom was referred resolution number 131-21-22 by Alderpersons Mitchell and Flicky-Pineski, providing for the sale of approximately $2,215,000 general obligation promissory notes, Series 2022A. Alder Mitchell?
Thank you, Mayor. I move to receive the RC and adopt the resolution.
Second.
There's been a motion and second. Any discussion on this item? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote. Please refer to your Muni code.
Nine ayes.
It is approved. 34, RC number 216-21-22 by the Finance and Personnel Committee, to whom was referred resolution number 134-21-22 by Alderpersons Mitchell and Flicky-Pineski, authorizing a budget transfer and appropriation in the 2022 budget to complete the interfund transfer between the Tax Incremental District 6 Debt Fund and the Redevelopment Authority. Alder Mitchell?
I move to receive the IRC and adopt the resolution.
Second.
There's been a motion second. Discussion? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote. Please refer to your Unicode.
Nine ayes.
That is approved. 35, RC number 218-2122 by the Finance and Personnel Committee, to whom was referred resolution number 137-2122 by Alderpersons Mitchell and Flicky Pineski, authorizing the purchase of 5509 Menning Road and vacant lands located east of Menning Road for future use by the city. Recommends adopting the resolution with the amendment to include parcel 59030-454922 to the listing document. Alder Mitchell?
I move to receive the IRC and adopt the amended resolution.
Second.
There's been a motion and second. Discussion on this item?
Mr. Mayor, I have a question.
Is that Alder Savalio?
It sure is.
Go for it.
Thank you. I think this question will be best answered by our city attorney. In the offer to purchase, it says the closing date is TBD, and I've always been taught by other people in the space of real estate and law that it's not a valid contract if it doesn't have a date for it to close. Can you please help me understand that better?
It's a valid contract. Had we been the one to draft it and we weren't, we wouldn't have drafted it that way. But since it was presented that way to us, we're good with it. It's not invalid. It's just perhaps substandard might be the way to put it.
Thank you. A quick follow-up. When are we closing?
As soon as possible.
Director Pellicek, additional commentary?
That what Attorney Adams said is correct. We, the TBD in there is because we didn't know if it was going to pass the council in one council meeting, so that was not determined, but the goal is to get the documents together, get everything in order, and try to close in the next week or so.
Additional comments, questions? All right, seeing none, this is a roll call vote. Please refer to your Unicode.
Nine ayes.
That is approved. 36, RC number 214-2122 by the Finance Personnel Committee, to whom was referred a direct referral resolution number 139-2122 by Alderpersons Mitchell and Flicky Pineski, authorizing the city administrator to execute a master service agreement and statement of work and language line services for on-demand language translation services. Alder Mitchell.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to receive the IRC and adopt the resolution.
Second.
There's been a motion second. Any discussion on this item? Alder Laster.
I'm just curious, well, I use this already, so is there gonna be mass training for people? Will there be mass training for people to know how to use this? And have we thought about I Speak cards so people know we have this tool?
Director Pellicek.
Yes, there will be training. Once it passes, the company is on board to help educate the departments that have customer service windows to start with, and then to incorporate the larger staff. So whatever tools are available, they are on board to help us implement it. The municipal court uses this service already. We get a number of requests here. Most of them are Spanish and Hmong related, and we have identified staff within the city proper that can help provide those services. So if it's a language outside of that area, we would then tap into this, but we will use the internal resources first.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Additional questions? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote.
Alder Savaglio.
Did it come through now?
Yeah.
Yes, it did. Thank you. 9 ayes.
All right, that is approved. Item 37 will be referred to the Plan Commission, 38 will be referred to the Licensing, Hearing, and Public Safety Committee, 39 will be referred to the Finance and Personnel Committees. Chuck, City Attorney, would you please read item 40?
Yes, it's an RO by the city clerk submitting a license application for the period ending June 30, 2022.
And that will be referred to the Licensing, Hearing, and Public Safety Committee meeting. All right, we've exhausted the agenda. Alderperson Flicky-Pineski.
I move to adjourn.
Second. Motion and second. All those in favor of adjourning, please state aye.
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 Any opposition?
Aye.
We're adjourned at 7:35.